This week, our good friend Don Pezet of ITProTV rejoins us for a discussion about topic. Oh, actually, we're just going to dig into Don Pezet and really get to know Don in who he is as a person and some of his passions. And we'll talk a little bit about IT and security with Don as well. It's a complete surprise, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Ron Levy of the podcast Israel Media Limited, did I say that right?
Yep.
Is here in studio with us, and we're going to talk about all kinds of fun stuff. Malicious Life is
my podcast.
Is your podcast, so that's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to talk about some the history of malware as well. In the news this week, all kinds of stuff. We have to talk more about Equifax. I'm sorry, but new stuff has come to light that we get to say, I told you so. 3 billion compromised Yahoo accounts. Embarrassing ignorance on the topic of encryption coming out of the UK. Ethical hacking in high school is a fantastic story. Doug, you're going to love this. High school student did an awesome project, and I wanted to make sure we covered that on the show. Also, who Alex Stamos is hunting, and more. All that on this edition of Paul's Security Weekly. This is Security Weekly, for security professionals, by security professionals. Broadcasting live from G-Unit Studios in Rhode Island, it's the show where exploits run wild, packets aren't the only things getting sniffed, and the cocktails flow steady. It's Paul's Security Weekly. I'm, of course, your host, Paul Asadorian, excited to be here, as always, on Paul's Security Weekly.
Hi, and welcome to the show. I totally introduce our host right now, but I've got a totally awkward boner.
What? Where? Oh, hey! I'm in the studio with you guys. That's kind of cool.
Sounds like a plan.
And we'll at least have one person listening.
That's right. Just
I know, and I appreciate it, and I'm glad you enjoyed your spooning with Jeff. But
Hey, that's
actually built a new office.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, third baby on the way, so I needed a new office.
Nice.
I lost my old office. That's now the baby room.
Brought to you by... Make sure your team is prepared to fight off the latest cybersecurity threat. ITProTV is the resource to keep you and your IT team skills up to date. You can stream ITProTV's courses live and on demand worldwide, so there's no need to send staff to off-site training. Their team solution provides access to a supervisor portal for full control over your team's training schedule and group analytics. Go to itpro.tv/Security Weekly and use the code SW30 to try it free for 7 days and receive 30% off your monthly membership for the lifetime of your active subscription. To learn more about ITProTV's team solution, sign up for a free demo of their supervisor portal. Logarithm's Netmon Freemium delivers real-time network visibility to quickly identify emerging threats in your IT environment. Netmon Freemium is a free commercial-grade network forensics and traffic analytics solution. You can use Netmon Freemium's powerful capabilities to search against all observed network traffic, identify abnormal traffic patterns and application usage, and quickly analyze full packet captures. Take the first step towards real-time network visibility. Visit logarithm.com/freemium to learn more and download it today. Endgame automates the hunt for both known and never-before-seen adversaries in enterprise networks. Built on unique knowledge on the adversary's tools, techniques, and tactics, Endgame's centrally managed agent prevents, detects, and responds to advanced adversaries in the earliest stages of the kill chain without prior knowledge. Endgame, automate the hunt.
Coming at you like a psychopathic ostrich who's hell-bent on revenge because you ate her whole family in an omelet. It's Paul.
Wow, thank you very much, Mr. Doug White, for that wonderful introduction. This is Paul's Security Weekly. This is episode 532. It is, in fact, October 5th, 2017. And here with me in studio is none other than the fabulous cybersecurity instructor extraordinaire for Roger Williams University, host of Secure Digital Life.
Indeed.
Mr. Doug White.
Sexy. You left that out, but
I'm
here, yeah.
Sexy forensics investigator.
That's right. Sexy forensic investigator. I do that with our naughty forensic investigator.
So what's going on, Doug? How are you?
The usual crazy, I had to take a Cisco test this week, and of course all the questions.
Did you pass?
I did pass, strangely enough, because all the questions I studied were wrong. So I went in to take the test, and they opened it up. I was like, "Oh, no, wait, this is not This is not the test.
I had one of those moments based on something you and I did last week when, remember, we set up the switch here in the office and we got it all working, and I forgot the password to it.
Well, there you go. Then you can use that CCNA training stuff.
It's wicked secure.
It's like reboot the switch and push the stat key. You know.
I mean, except it has Telnet. So maybe if someone else has the password, I can
so
sniff
hack
it.
your own password. Yeah.
No one else. You would be the only other one that has the password, which I don't think you remembered because I was the one typing on the command line. There was a swear word in it. I just can't remember which one.
I do remember you saying some swears, but I wasn't sure that was what the password was or not.
No, it was related to both related to the password and just cursing.
You can just bypass it. You know, just hold that first button.
I know.
Down. You hold the button down till the lights go on.
I know.
And you get they got a console cable.
You're going to be at B-Sides Connecticut this weekend.
I am going to be at B-Sides
And
Connecticut.
it's sold out.
I know. It's like crazy. I kept telling people to go to B-Sides Connecticut, and then all of a sudden they were like, I got some emails from people going, well, you told me to go, and I went to register, and there's no tickets left. And I was like,
did they get on the waiting list?
Sucks to be you. I was like, they told them they could wait in the parking lot, and I'd come outside after a while and like
Sneak
wring out
them
a towel on them or something. Like, there you go, peasants. They're going to keep them in like an area behind a velvet rope or something. That's what.
So they can like just see every time the door opens and see what's happening.
It'll be like
inside.
Studio 54, and I can go out there and go, he and her, but not him.
Right.
Right. That's my dream. Like hack con thing is that we have
to
a
be able to do
rope,
that,
and I get to be the like bouncer guy that's just choosing people.
Seemingly random.
He looks clever, but not him. No. You're going to be out here for good. You're never getting in. Might as well just go to another.
Ron Levy is here with us. You're a podcast superstar.
Not as sexy as Doug.
Not as sexy as Doug. Almost close.
But he's a superstar.
Close second.
And
a mini superstar.
A real celebrity.
Yes, an actual podcast celebrity
in Israel.
Well,
Which is,
I mean,
it's a small
Israel's
pond.
awesome. So
it's a small pond, but I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll take what they give me.
That's awesome. It's
Hi,
so
guys.
nice to have you here this evening, Ron. I'm looking forward to our interview coming up next.
Thank you.
Hopefully we can get Don Pezet on the line because Don is here with us.
Don, I summon you forth.
Our interview, because we're about to talk about ITProTV, where you can go to itpro.tv/Security Weekly, use the code SW30 and try it free for 7 days, which is just fantastic. And you guys can, how many, like, if I were a corporation, Don, and I wanted to buy like a few thousand, or let's say tens and thousands of accounts at ITProTV, I can go do that now, right, for all of my employees?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, you know, that's something we've been improving lately because a lot of companies, security has become not just something for the IT people, but for the whole company. So we've got a new method, a supervisor portal, where you can actually track all the training that your employees watch, and you can assign things like, maybe a simple end user security. You just want to make sure they watch this 45-minute video when they were hired, and you can do that through our system now. So we're trying to make sure that we take care of every company's needs.
It's awesome. Now, Don, you've been working in IT for over 18 years and been training others in technology for more than 12 years. You have many certifications with Microsoft and Cisco. You've got real-world experience, textbook knowledge, a questionable sense of humor that have helped you entertain and educate thousands of people. Your business partner, Tim Brune, founded ITProTV together in 2013 and described as the Netflix of IT training. Can I get ITPro on Netflix? Can I, like...
Ooh.
Not yet. Not yet.
That would be a big deal right there, but yeah,
Wow.
not yet. Although we are available on Amazon, so I guess there's that.
Well, that's true,
that's just as good, I think. But you can consume that content. Over 2,000 hours of original IT training content is available. And now,
we create new content every single day.
And speaking of that, you're creating content with Scott Lyons and Josh Marpet, which I'm sorry you have to work with them.
That's definitely a challenge.
That's definitely a challenge. But they're producing some great content for you. I don't know if you're ready to talk about that yet on the show.
You know, that's part of our new practical security track that we're starting. Is a lot of what we've done has been certification-based or fundamentals and theory-based, but in this day and age, people need practical, real-world skills. And Scott and Josh have been helping us reach out and find a lot of great talent, people that are field penetration testers, people that have been in the industry doing, not just, talking about something. And so we're starting to bring them in to create this new content. And it's definitely... we're beyond the alpha stage at this point. We're actually creating the content, trying to put it together. So that track will be launching a little bit later this year. And we're hoping to just really hit a home run on that with great content where you learn something that you can turn right around and use in your workplace the very next day. That's our goal with that.
That's awesome. Don, have you talked about how you got your start in information security here on the show before? I don't know that we've done a formal interview with you.
Oh, come on.
No,
don't
not
think we
really. I don't think so.
So how did you?
We got our 5 questions.
Yeah, we can do the 5 questions again. So Don, how did you get started? Well, first with technology, and then how did you get started in information security?
You know, I went to college. I wanted to be a lawyer originally. So, you know, when I went to school, I went for I went for political science. And
well, now hold on, hold the booze. Look, there are some really cool attorneys out there. Okay,
yeah.
We interviewed one this week.
I saw one in the parking lot when I came in here. There was like he was going through the dumpster looking for sustenance.
I'll stick up for some of the attorneys. Anyway,
I will too.
Don,
That's okay.
continue.
I'm sorry, Don.
I wanted to be one of the worst kind of attorneys, which were the political campaign attorneys.
Oh, yeah, okay. All right, you're okay now.
Okay.
So I was really looking into that, and I didn't have a lot of scholarships for college, and so on the side, as a hobby, I was building and selling computers, and you know, because back then that was a pretty common thing. So
was that in like
I started doing that.
Was that in the 70s, Don?
No, not that long ago. This
sorry.
would have been like the early
That was a
early
joke.
and mid 90s. I think I was born in the 70s. So.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so that's how I got involved in computers. And as I was going through college,
And
I was
sorry,
in my senior
Don,
year.
were you in Florida? Are you based out of Florida? Is that where you were born and raised?
Oh no, I was born in the Philippines. So I was in an Air Force family, so we lived all over the place.
Oh, okay.
But yep. So so I was selling computers and kind of found that I really enjoyed that a lot more than I did going into pre-law. So it was too late to change majors. So I ended up getting my bachelor's degree in political science and computer information sciences. So it's funny because here around the office we talk about computers, and anytime somebody starts talking about politics, I can say, well, you know, I actually have a little bit of authority to talk on politics.
There you go.
That's what I got my degree in.
Wow.
But that's how I got started in computers in the early days.
And then, so after college, what did you do after you were building computers?
So then I went to work for a company up in Jacksonville that did they did Packard Bell warranties and Compaq warranties, which you know back in the 90s
that was
was
big.
very, very busy
That's
business.
a lot of warranty work.
And through Compaq,
It's true.
I started working on their ProLiant servers. So I became like a Compaq ProLiant server warranty
I remember
guy.
those. Yep.
Which then got bought out by HP. So now they're the HP ProLiants, and that's what got me into servers. And from there, I started moving into the stuff running onto it, you know, the databases, the mail servers. And once you get there, you start seeing a lot of people get compromised. I was a field contractor, so I was traveling all over and just running into networks that were thrown together really sloppy, and they were getting compromised. They were getting viruses, malware. They were actively getting hacked. And I kind of fell into that security niche from there. And, you know, it gave me a broad experience. I have experience in a lot of different technologies, but security was always kind of that cutting edge one, the one that never changes. It's always exciting and new.
What was the most favorite technology you worked with in your professional career, Don?
Oh, you know, my favorite technology, you know, I'm going to, that's a tough one because what I want to say is DeskView X. I don't, do either of you guys remember
No.
DeskView X? So when
You
I got
stumped
started,
us.
I ran DOS.
Okay, you went a
I
shirt.
ran DOS just like everybody, and it's a non-multitasking operating system.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. I told you
That's
we
a
should
hard
use a
fruit.
black cockerel when we summon Don. Oh, he's gone.
No, he's definitely frozen.
yeah, he's frozen and
Yeah.
gone. Oh, no.
His favorite technology is not Skype. I can tell you that much.
I could, yeah, probably. He should be using DeskView X for that broadcast. And it would
He said
coming
DOS
through
and
an 8
everything
bits.
froze.
we were like, yeah, it's right on the edge of their seats, like DeskVX. We were all stumped. Then he starts talking about DOS.
Now we'll never know what is
Well,
this.
this could be a
There we go.
conspiracy,
Oh,
too.
he's back.
The mystery remains.
It's
He's
a
back.
conspiracy. They cut you off when you started talking about
Yeah.
DeskView X.
So you started saying it was something
I
for
know.
DOS, Don.
That's what they use at the King of
So
the
they-
World Center is DeskView X, and they heard you mention it, and it's just like gone.
That's the internet black hole.
Exactly.
But they ported X Windows to run on top of DOS, and that was my first chance to really see a true
Oh,
multitasking
okay.
operating system. And that's what got me into Linux. That's what got me started with Slackware and really going from there. So, so while I didn't run it for very long, that's one of my favorite technologies to this day.
What's your least favorite technology, Don? Aside from Skype.
SharePoint.
Aside
Absolutely.
SharePoint?
Absolutely SharePoint.
Really? SharePoint?
Without a doubt.
Why SharePoint? I mean, other than the fact that everyone says it's really crappy.
So I know a number of people who love SharePoint. They think it's great. I know that from Microsoft, after Office, it was their first product to make them over $1 billion. So I know it's successful.
Well, that's true.
But I've used it. I've got a MCSA in SharePoint. I'm certified. I'm trained. It's not like I'm making this up, but it is horribly optimized. It requires way too many resources. It's super bloated. Backing it up is a nightmare. Restoring it is even worse. I mean, it is just all around bad. And I've got a tagline I give for it. It's a solution for a problem you didn't have. People really love it. It's a great solution.
I like it.
It creates the problem.
I'm going to go license that tagline right now.
That's right. I like it. Don, when you started training, what were some of the technologies you were training people in at first? How'd you get into training too?
You know, I had moved away for a while. I went to the University of Florida here in Gainesville for a little while, and then I moved up to Jacksonville, and eventually I moved back to Gainesville to do some more school. And when I did, they had just opened up a training center here in town. It's how I met my business partner, Tim. He's the one who opened the training center here. And they needed a trainer, and I was coming fresh out of the field, so I had a lot of good background knowledge. And they needed somebody. It was when Windows 2000 was coming out, and they needed somebody to teach Windows Server 2000 and that big Active Directory deployment, because Active Directory was all new in 2000. So that's some of the first stuff that I taught.
Wow. And we still have Active Directory to this day, and it's still probably security-wise one of the largest problems that I think we have today, and I think that theme is going to continue at least for the next couple of years. You agree with that on the security front?
I agree. I mean, the flip side is that it is one of the better directory services that are out there. You know, the group policy management and all the other things that are part of AD are really good.
Why that Novell thing never took off?
Yeah. You know, Novell, like group-wise and stuff, Novell had some good products. They just didn't adapt with the market.
When you refuse to be routed.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, we will use IPX, SPX until you pry it from our cold, dead fingers.
Yeah, that just
non-routable protocols made simple.
Don, I was talking with someone about this earlier, speaking of Active Directory. Why is it that most organizations, in my opinion, and a lot of people seem to agree, that it's one of the technologies that makes most organizations the most vulnerable? Because it's so trusting. Like, once you're part of the Active Directory, you have access to all of the information and can do a lot of harm. Why is it that people don't recognize this, and why aren't they able to more easily fix this problem? Is it a skills gap? Is it an awareness problem? Some of each? He's thinking long and hard about that problem.
That was too
he looks
tough
really
of a question.
still. Okay, he's going. Can I
Way
answer
too tough
it?
of a question. Yeah.
I'll answer that question, because when you have products like that are all inclusive and they solve a big problem, which is the problem of your organization trying to share information out, it's very easy to fall into this sort of complacency model of, I'm satisfied.
I trust everything.
I trust everything, and I don't have to worry anymore. And the lights came on when I hit the switch. And I think what happens with people, and this happened with Novell too. I mean, you do the same exact thing with Novell. If you go back when Novell was the biggie, it's just too easy. You know, it's like saying, I don't have to build this. I don't have to understand it. It's just black magic. And I go out here and I sacrifice a chicken to Microsoft on the ground, and it works. And the lights are on, and I feel good about myself. And I can go home for the weekend and see my family instead of staying here trying to beat on security problems. And people fall into that complacent role. And then because it's so overwhelming, it's this big, huge thing. There's holes in it. I mean, it covers everything. So it's, you know, from printers to everything else. And because it brings all those people into the fold, you've got devices that you're trusting simply because you said to trust them. So I pull a printer up and I go buy a Xerox printer and I slap it on my network and I say, I trust it. Should you? I don't know.
It's part of the domain. I should trust it.
And you push that expertise then, because I don't know that my people know anything about a Xerox printer or any kind of printer, but now I've pulled it in domain, and we wanted our printer to work. So when we pulled our printer in, what we did with that was say we're going to trust it because we want it to work.
No,
and
it's a good
the
point.
holes that come in from all these other angles are all just sort of sitting there in your model, but you don't think about those holes because you want it to work. You want it to be this nice safety blanket that you pull up over yourself at night. And when you do that, you get into trouble because the cat's still going to climb up under the end of the bed.
And the bed bugs are still going to get in. Don, are you back?
Yeah. I'm not sure what's going on today, but I think part of the problem, everything Doug said, absolutely true, but also the fact that people just assume it's secure, right? I mean, it's got Kerberos for authentication, and everything's encrypted, and it's secure. It's got all these passwords that change dynamically every 6 hours, and all that crazy stuff that goes on inside it. But the reality is it's only as secure as you make it. And once you start putting those trusts in place, then it gets weaker.
Yep.
And the people that are accessing your Active Directory are already behind your firewall. They're already behind your security devices. And that's what creates the weakness.
And there's a skills gap. I mean, one of the dangers of making things too easy is that people don't necessarily get the security side skills they need just to get Active Directory working. I've seen setups like that a lot of times. I've gone out in response on a couple of those. And people, they knew how to get it running, but they didn't know anything about how it actually worked or how to secure it. And it was just the objective was to make it work.
Making something work, knowing how to break something, and knowing how to fix something are three totally different levels
completely
of
different skill sets.
Right?
But you'll see tons of shops that they don't have that kind of depth of people. And what happens then is it's like me. It's one person or two people, and they're told, look, get the president's email running. You know, he wants his email, and you just go, it's fixed. And then you leave it, and then 5 months later it gets hacked.
And that's the process that I preach even around here is I'm like, it's great we get things working, but you have to then break it, and then you have to fix it. And you need to keep repeating that cycle over and over again. And something that you thought maybe was working, you go try and break it again, and then you have to have a separate skill set to fix it. But that process has to be, I tell the guys with the production setup all the time, it's very complex. It's always increasing in complexity.
And you have to remember that most of the time, security is not your core business anyway.
Right. Yeah.
It's always a burden on the company.
But
So
consider,
if-
but that same analogy, if one of these lights falls over right here just now and breaks,
Well, please don't.
I know, but
use
one of
that.
the guys is going to run in while we're sitting here talking and put a new light up and turn it back on. I don't know if that was a safe move or a good move or whatever, but it was like the show must go on. We got to get things going. And that's the same thing in your day-to-day operations. Your business is sitting there and it's not running. Email's down, fix it. And things get fixed and then it just sits. And then, I got 5 other fires to put out. And I don't get back to this email problem for 6 weeks, and maybe I never get back to it. And by then I've forgotten all about it. And now the light's still sitting there that we replaced it with, and maybe that thing shorts out and sets somebody's hair on fire.
So, Don, after Active Directory, where did your training kind of career go, and how did you get involved in ITProTV?
So after Active Directory, I started doing a lot of Microsoft Exchange migrations and deployments, so I started dealing with that. Just because that was tied into the Active Directory at that point, and somebody had to learn it. And I just love learning new things. So I started getting involved in Cisco and databases, SQL, and kind of having that breadth of knowledge is what made it easy for me to transition into being a trainer. And anytime I trained on a topic, I always made sure that I learned it first because I love learning new stuff. But I didn't teach for long before I left to go back into the private sector and kind of went back and forth over the years because you don't want your knowledge to become stale. You don't want
Damn.
There's another
It's
freeze.
a difficult day for Skype.
It is.
It's that connection from Florida.
I think the connection was severely damaged in the hurricane.
It may have
Is that
been,
what
yeah.
happened, Don? Did your cables come under some stress during that hurricane?
I have never had this happen before. This is really bizarre. It is very strange. We've got a 200 megabit fiber connection here, which you think would be great, but I feel like I'm on a dial-up modem right now. If only somebody here knew something about computers and could maybe figure out what's going on.
So, Don, in your role today, and it's a somewhat controversial type question, is how do you stay fresh? It sounds like throughout your career, you had been working, consulting, and working with organizations, doing projects, and then doing some training and kind of going back and forth. In your role today, how do you manage that balance? Don's frozen again.
Yeah, he looked really frozen right about then.
It looked like a drunk face. He was like,
I think he's the bravest guy I know. He's like, I work with Active Directory. Oh, then I worked with Exchange Server and ProLiant and Packard Bell. And I'm like, oh, my God. He's like the white knight of technology or something. He's like,
sorry, guys. This is the worst interview ever. But, there's no substitute for real-world experience, getting out there and working with technologies. But even when you can't, like, right now I'm recording shows and stuff. I can't get out there in the real world. We still need to read. We need to learn. We need to pay attention to the news that's going on. So I'm a consummate reader. Watching podcasts like yours, Paul, not to suck up here for a minute, but this is how we learn about what's going on out there in areas that are outside of the little blinders we put in our own workplace.
How involved are you with the infrastructure at IT Pro? I've been to your office. You have a phenomenal setup from everything from the internal structure all the way to the video recording and all of that. Are you like the primary architect for all of that? And you and I've had some conversations, but is that primarily one of the things you've worked on?
Yeah, architect's a good word because I'm rarely the doer anymore over here. I get involved if they have problems, right? But usually I hand that over to the IT guys, let them deal with it. But the design, the selection of technologies, and implementation, that's usually through me. Some of it's outside of my range, though, like our website. Way back in the early days, I built our website. But now it's all Node.js, and it's running in containers, and the developers have a lot more control over that.
It's all that new hipster technology.
Yeah.
These kids today.
I don't know that I could figure it out if I had to.
Their Dockers and their struts.
Don, what's the most insecure piece of technology that you've brought into ITProTV or rejected from ITProTV because it was just so horribly insecure?
We've had some third-party vendors that we dealt with, especially back in the WordPress days. Our site originally was built off of WordPress, and WordPress plugins are notoriously weak. You can completely blow WordPress's security with a simple plugin. A plugin that's current and up-to-date can have 0 days and things that are.
Yeah, there have been a string of WordPress vulnerabilities.
My WordPress
plugin.
site has been hacked 3 times already, and it's
13 years and we've been hacked once so far.
WordPress is exactly like Active Directory. It's the same exact thing. It's this big security blanket for websites. It's easy to use. Anybody can do it. You don't have to have any understanding of what you're doing to actually put something together.
And it's so configurable. It's so easy to use, and it's so terrible when it gets hacked.
Fantastic points, right? Like, it's so configurable and easy to use. It's very trusting. And that's part of its downfall is that any module that you're building onto WordPress has the capability, like Don said, to basically take over the whole system. And I'm like amazed at this point that WordPress hasn't come up with some kind of new design to decouple that plugin architecture.
I think it's too deep ingrained into the system
by now, right? But you would think that plugins should be
millions of plugins working on the way it works.
So you'd break those millions of plugins by introducing a more
secure. The minute you did like a major revision, you would have the phone would be ringing off the wall. People would go crazy because you're going to break a million plugins, and everybody's websites that are using it are going to crash.
Right.
And you're going to have to do a revision.
It's like a third of the websites on the internet are now running WordPress.
Right.
Third or quarter, something like that. It's too big.
And they've actually made it a little worse with the REST API that they rolled out. That's opened up tons of vulnerabilities into different sites, or where it's not properly secured. That is a minefield.
I need to check my REST API.
Yes.
That was worrisome. I'll be right back.
What's the coolest piece of technology you've implemented for ITProTV?
The coolest thing. We've had so many neat things go on here. I would say, one of the most revolutionary, I guess, maybe would be like, our firewalls. We have pfSense firewalls that we use here for the building that we used to always have Juniper or Cisco or these really expensive high-end firewalls, and now you're able to use this open source product and get the same feature set and the same level of protection out of them. And granted, it's missing things like signature detection or firepower or whatever, but for the basic firewall operation, it's really neat to see that control being wrested from the big vendors and moved to something that's open source and easy to implement. So that's one of the cooler things. And Skype. Skype is awesome.
This segment brought to you by Skype.
Don, are you using the hardware from pfSense because they have a commercial offering, or are you just putting that on standard hardware?
We are.
Oh.
I've never seen it.
No, I've
crash
never seen that.
in that way.
Something strange going on.
That's one of the amazing things, and Ron can attest this in podcasting, is you get the opportunity to see things fail in real time, in ways that you never could have imagined. You would think after 532 episodes, like we've seen almost every single problem you could possibly have with Skype.
But then again, it allows you to practice your improvisation technique.
It does,
which is important.
Which is what we're doing right now. While Don comes back and talks about pfSense firewalls.
So what I was trying to say, and who knows, maybe it's because I'm going through the pfSense firewall. I was saying that I wouldn't buy their hardware again. I would use my own hardware if I had that to do again.
Interesting.
Oh, you did? You like your own hardware a lot better than the. I haven't used the PF Sense. I'm a big roll my own kind of fan of hardware, and the PF Sense hardware wasn't like maybe what you expected.
Yeah, it wasn't significantly better than anything else, and their support really isn't like the Netgate support is not. It's not really worth even calling them.
Interesting. I'm glad I used whatever other hardware I used. Some embedded. I can't remember what it is. We talked about it on the show. Actually, when Greg Foss from Logarithm came on the show and talked about the hardware they were using for some of their Netmon devices, it's that Quotom.
Oh, okay.
Quotom. Have you heard of those before, Don?
Yeah.
Quotom?
Yeah, those are just the Chinese like mass manufactured devices.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. That's what we're using. I use OPN Sense rather than PF Sense, but it's similar
Same,
project. It's
almost
a
the same
forked
thing.
project. It's actually not the same code base anymore. So
Yep. It did fork.
it works great. One of the audio hacks, Don, that I have to talk about because we're using them now here in the studio are the 286s, the DBX 286s. That's like when we talk about hacking, like it's literally hacking our audio on the fly, which I think is really cool.
They're borderline magic, you know, like they take away background noise. It's all just gone. The S in your voice, they cut those out. It's really impressive. Like audio engineers really know what they're doing when they create devices like that.
Yeah,
Sounds impressive.
It's amazing how much the cost has come down for a lot of those Tesla, because those things aren't that expensive considering what they do. And on Don's recommendation, we implemented in the studio, and like Don said, like it's basically hacking our audio on the fly.
You push that one button, and everybody sounds like Sean Connery. So, it's like,
Well, I wouldn't say it's not a push of a button. You need an audio engineer to tune it. Riley's our in-house audio engineer. And Riley turns all the knobs on those things, and all magically we sound great. But yeah,
yeah.
What's Doug's real voice like?
Oh my God, it's like high and squeaky. Like, yeah.
It's not gonna see you out there. Can you give me like a British accent?
Yeah.
Oh, George.
Good
Pass me the
afternoon.
whiskey, please.
Oh my!
I don't know if we could do that. Maybe
Put another shrimp on that barbie.
That's AI.
that's Australian.
Oh well, at least he identified. He didn't go. Oh, what is that? Portuguese?
Oh boy. So, Don, tell us a little bit about some of the more updated security materials that you are producing for ITProTV, above and beyond the security curriculum that Scott and Josh are working on.
Sure. You know, CompTIA has a new Security Plus coming out. Security Plus is a pretty big certification because it's part of the government's 8570 requirements. So most U.S. government employees have to get it. And those new objectives have been kind of modernized to include a lot of really neat topics that I think are important. So that's going to be rolling out from here not too long. I think all the video content's already shot. It's just getting approved to be rolled out. And then we've got some other the hands-on skills that are going. We just finished our end-user training, which is really cool. So all of that just kind of across the board in the security world has been important. But we're also starting to look back at some of the other products that we've already done. Like I had all this Linux training, so we decided let's create a Linux security techniques show. Just let's highlight all the different security packages that are a part of the Linux operating system so that if you're deploying servers with Linux or workstation with Linux, what can you do to secure it? What tools are in the tool belt and available for you?
Yeah, I feel like hardening operating systems it gets overshadowed by all of these new fancy techniques, devices, and technologies. And I think really to accomplish security in your organization, one of the fundamentals that we lose sight of is hardening. And like Don said, using what's already in the operating system in order to make it more secure.
Yep.
Is all that content available in Israel as well? Lots of IT professionals in Israel, I mean, would really love to get that training.
Is ITProTV? Yeah. So yeah, you have a global.
Well?
It doesn't matter what country you're from, Don, to get your training. Is that correct?
As long as there's no U.S. embargo on your country, then it's fine.
And even then, if
Hopefully
you have
not.
a VPN, so
Yeah.
Well, Masquerade, is it coming from Iran or something?
China,
China.
yeah.
Russians.
Doing that last summer.
I wanted to launch. I was trying to get Mike Roderick, one of our hosts. I was trying to get him to do a whole series for us on hardening servers, and I wanted to have it titled "Getting Hard with Mike Roderick." He didn't want to do it for some reason.
Oh, come on. How could you pass on that?
That's hilarious. And now, Don, all of the training classes have transcripts that are searchable. Is that correct?
Yeah. You know, you don't always have time to watch a whole series or watch a whole show. You want to find one particular thing. So we do transcripts. Originally, we did it just to help our hearing impaired viewers. But then we found that everybody really benefited from it, that you could jump in and find that stuff really quick. So we do that. And our transcripts are neat because you can see the whole transcript. If you click on a word, the video will jump right to that spot where that word is. And you
That's like my favorite feature because it's like you all the time want to go in like a long class or a lecture, and you want to just go through and say, I really just want somebody to explain the difference in des and 3 des. And I don't know what the difference in those two things is. And if you can search the transcript and go, bink, I'm going to skip to 15:35 on that presentation and just hear that 2 minutes, that's all I really needed. And I think that's a day-to-day usefulness that's not like a training thing. It's more like a functionality kind of thing with it. And that makes it valuable everywhere you are. That's why you carry around Don like on your phone, so you have you just like if you just feel lonely like in traffic or something, it's like Don. It's like see like Don, help me, Don, and Don's like get in the left lane right now.
And let's put some credit where credit's due. I actually don't do the majority of our security content. A lot of that is Mike Roderick or Adam Gordon. Adam Gordon, who authored one of the ISC Squared books for CISSP. Those two guys are brilliant. They know a lot of information. I get in there sometimes, but those guys, you can learn a lot from them.
And Don, given you have a good amount of security training, what advice do you have for our listeners that want to get into security, want to build a lab, and start learning? Where should they start?
So the first thing I recommend is set up a news feed. Get an RSS reader or something where you can start following some blogs that are out there. Follow Security Weekly, follow the Sophos Naked Security, follow any blog, even some of the softer ones like Krebs on Security or whatever. That way you can be learning what's going on right now. You're going to need to learn fundamentals and theory. You're going to have to start with something like Security Plus, and it's not exciting. It's not cutting edge. It's fundamentals and theory. But if you're paying attention to the news, you're seeing what's really relevant and what's new, what's going on, and staying up to date. You've got to constantly do that, not just when you're a beginner, but all the way until you're a pro. So set that up now. If you're passionate about security, you should love reading about it. You should be doing it as your hobby anyway. And so you do that all throughout the day, and you'll really build up a skill set really fast.
What about building a lab? What advice do you have for folks?
Labs are really hard these days. They used to be easier, right? You buy a couple of computers, you throw a couple of operating systems on there. But thanks to the cloud, that becomes really challenging. Amazon Web Services has a free usage tier, so you can spin up virtual machines in AWS, pretty inexpensive, if not free. Microsoft Azure, Google Compute, they have low-cost options. But a lot of modern web applications are being deployed in the cloud. So if you're scanning virtual machines on your own computer, that's not a reflection of what's out there in real life land. So, use VirtualBox, mess around with some operating systems, but I think that scanning desktops and scanning servers even is not really the way of the future. Scanning web applications, that's the way of the future. And we're going to see desktops become more and more locked down, kind of like the iPad as time goes on, because people don't need that desktop power anymore like they used to. And 10 years from now, we'll all laugh at what I just said because we'll be all the way back to distributed computers. But the trend right now is towards those web applications.
Yeah, it's true how those things come and go in technology. It just takes time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, questions for Don? Anyone have questions for Don? Don, are you getting one of the new iPhone 8 or iPhone 10, or are you Pixel 2?
Neither. I'm an Android guy. I bought the original Pixel and absolutely hated it. It was the worst phone I ever had. I sold it after a month. And so right now I've got a Samsung Galaxy S8. And I was tempted to pre-order a Pixel 2, but my Pixel 1 experience was so bad. I just can't bring myself to do it.
Gotcha. Awesome. Well, Don, any other news from ITProTV that you want to let our listeners know about?
If you're not aware, Adam Gordon, he's been working as a contractor for us for years. Now he's actually full-time with us. We hired him on, and so he works with us creating content every single week. So if you loved his stuff, I know a lot of your viewers went through his CISSP training. So he's with us now creating content all the time, which is really awesome. But also, if you ever have an idea for a security show, don't wait for us to think about it. Sometimes we're not very creative. Shoot it over to us. Let us know. You email me, don@itpro.tv. Just shoot me an email. Let me know, hey, I'd really love to see training on XYZ. And you might be the only person, and we never film it. Or I might hear from 4 or 5 of you that want that, and we jump in and record it. That's how some of our content, like our Wireshark content, I didn't set out to make that originally. I had some extra time. I asked the chat room what they wanted. They said Wireshark, and we made it. It's one of our more popular shows.
Nice.
So, you know, that's how we find out about that. So just reach out to us. Let us know what you want to learn.
Don, it's always a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much for coming on. Absolutely, we don't fault you for any of the technical glitches. We get it. We get it, dude. We made it work. No worries.
We
it's
blame
the Chinese
sunspots.
Blame the Chinese hackers.
Well, that or them. Yeah.
Don, thank you so much.
All right, thanks for having me.
Bye, Don.
With that, we're going to take a short break. Come back. We're going to interview Ron. So stay tuned.